Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, August 5th, 2024. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. It's been a pretty heavy way to start August there. We did see, for how long now have we been looking at the higher time frames and talking about the potential bearish signal on the monthly time frame and on the weekly time frame, right? And we got follow through and on the weekly time frame going into the last week or two. And we were waiting to see on the monthly here if we could hold down below 55.76, which we were doing as we came into the month of August. So I've been warning you guys as this market has been breaking out that we have these bearish clues up off the all-time highs. And if we could stay below 55.76 last week, and when this candle closed, I told you we would start to potentially confirm this monthly bearish signal that agreed with the weekly, and we also had the daily up. Well, we actually didn't have a daily signal there, but we had the 4-hour, the hourly, the 3-day, the weekly, the monthly, and I believe even the quarterly. And what's going up here on a 3-month chart, we're now holding down below 50% of the last candlestick here, and obviously very bearish looking current candlestick we're inside. So obviously, this could be the beginning of a much deeper pullback, and so that's kind of what we're looking at. Let's go ahead and see what happened here on Friday. Now, the majority of the sell-off happened just last night. So if you zoom out again, we had a pretty good sell-off on Thursday coming into the open on Friday. Friday was a bearish market, but didn't have quite the range as Thursday's, and then here is basically from where my cursor is here all the way down to this low is what happened just in the overnight session, right? So pretty much almost doubled the range, not completely, but almost doubled the range in just the overnight session here. We've fallen another 200 points. And so yeah, it's been pretty crazy. So like I said, Friday wasn't as strong of a push as we saw on Thursday of last week or on the overnight session from last night. But let's go ahead and jump back and look. What happened here on Friday was a lot of volume in the market. Market opened here and held off of the first roadmap level, but did not quite get anywhere, right? So if you try to buy, you got 5, 6, 7 points out of it, but then failed and held off the 200 to come down and bounce off the next roadmap level. Again, could have made 5 to 6 to 7 points there on the first one. And if you bought the second one, you actually made, 20, 30 points to the upside, maybe more than that. And then what happened when that bounce happened? They could not get through VWAP. And then right at the end here, you see them come right back up, kiss into it, and that begins the beginning of the pullback. Of course, they didn't make it easy. It wasn't a straight line. It came right back up, kind of went through all of our levels. But as it started to hold below the main roadmap level here at 53.99-ish, you can see we peaked in, came down, interestingly enough, bounced right off the next roadmap level. And there's our first tag of the 200 moving average in a bearish market. There's the crossover. We're below VWAP. Great opportunity there with divergence and very limited risk. And you could have captured what? You could have got in off the 200 and took a point and a half of risk and rode this whole thing down. If you missed out on the first test of the 200, there's another bearish divergence off the 200 right there on this merry ride lower. So you could have made a heck load of money on the short side off that first test. You could have made another 10, 15 points on the second test there. And then they tried to hold down below the next roadmap level, only to come back up and try to hold above it, and then finally fail back down and bounce at the next roadmap level. So, and like I said, Friday wasn't as big of a move. So we did kind of peter out in some areas. It was a little bit messy. But you can see still respecting these, and the larger rotations still respecting these roadmap levels nearly to the tick, right? So you could have tried buying a couple in the morning. Then they came down here and tested into the major scaffolding level. There was another bullish divergence where you could have again maybe took on 2 points of risk there to get this beautiful push for over 20 points right to the same roadmap level that they held below earlier. And then, like I said, not necessarily a beautiful straight line on Friday, and we got a bunch of chop and a big bounce. Again, still basically holding around. Remember, this scaffolding level is highlighting a high time frame zone of chop, right? So we're talking zooming out and seeing big moves kind of coming in and then going back down into the lower levels there. So it was a little messy, but for all intents and purposes, held that structure zone, right? These are highlighting the major structure zones, and then we got it the first largest pop of the day, right? So I'm not arguing we held it to the tick or anything, or you would have bought that and made money, because I would have been stopped out, right? So we got the pop, and then came right back up. There's the first test of the 200 on the upside after the crossover, where if you bought that with bullish divergence once again, you would have got yourself over about 15 points to the upside, right to the expected support level that we had on the charts earlier that day, right? So we crushed through that, came right back to it. That's the major retracement. And then they tried to get up through the VWAP again, and no dice on that, right? So held the scaffolding, held the VWAP, tried to get up through it, and then we got the rejection again, which led to the next pullback. Nice little hefty pullback there. What do you know? It held just about the 50% retracement, almost to the tick there of that leg down. And then they extended down right to the 27 extension. I mean, and I didn't even plan to talk about that. I just noticed it as I'm going through all this stuff. I mean, that is your textbook 50% retrace, extending out to the 27 extension and getting that bounce. So beautiful bounce from there. And again, just a whole lot of stuff happened here on Friday. Right up to the next roadmap level, pull back, held the 200. There's the 50% retrace to try and pop higher, right? If we look at this leg up, came right up to the 61 to the tick, and then bounced out, trying to break up through the VWAP again. Couldn't get through it. Super choppy at the end of the day there on Friday. And then finally, right at the end of the day, they came right up to the next major scaffolding level. Remember, this is a high time frame area of congestion, that where we find price kind of holding right in that area. And sure enough, they came right up and gave it a kiss there and got a big pullback at the end of the day. You even got a nice opportunity to go ahead and try shorting the back end of VWAP once again as we were failing back down, and you would have got yourself a beautiful 10-15 point trade right down to around 53.50 there. So not a bad day on Friday. Was a little bit sideways and messy at some points. Just is what it is. The market's not always just going to give you a straight line one way or the other. But here we go with a pretty good straight line in the overnight session here. And as you can see, once the bears pulled price right back through VWAP, let's go up and take a look. This was last night, Sunday. As they tried to hold above VWAP here, they failed, and now it's just been a major sell-off. We had a decent bounce in the overnight session, 1 or 2 ticks in front of that 97 level, but nothing super sexy in terms of holding roadmap levels in the overnight session. I would say that right there, 97 was the major rotational point here for the bounces, and that little pullback off of there. But overall, not really respecting roadmap levels. Did hold VWAP on the way down, aggressively holding the fast moving average all the way down in the middle of the night here. Again, tried to test the fast moving average, just got a couple ticks through it, continued selling off. Then we get the biggest bounce of the night last night, nearly to the tick off the roadmap level. It actually went through it by 1 tick. And from there, you can see it actually started a bit of a stair step. So it stepped off the first level to the tick, the next level to the tick, the next level to the tick, and then I guess kind of broke that pattern right around here. But it still held the 200 on those pullbacks, brought it right up, not only to the next roadmap level up here, but the VWAP with big bearish divergence off that high, which has led this next push, where VWAP has been your best, or I'm sorry, the 200 has been your best friend on the way down. There's the crossover. There's the first test of the 200, 0 ticks of risk, and you guys would have been up over 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 points by now, right? So these are the trades I like. Whether they work every time I trade them, no. But I like them because I know I have nearly zero risk on the trade, and I have the potential for 20, 30, 40, in this case, 100 points to the downside. And there's your next test of the 200 over here. Again, basically right into the roadmap level, but holding the 200 with very limited risk there and there on the way down, right? And if you look where the market is getting these larger bounces, again, just a couple ticks in front of the roadmap level, nearly to the tick on that roadmap level. It actually made it into the major scaffolding and actually bounced off of it to the tick there, but didn't go anywhere, right? And then finally is still continuing. I mean, this has been just huge volume in the overnight session here on this sell-off, continuing to rip it lower and lower. And finally, the bounce that we're currently in is right off the next major scaffolding here within 2 ticks of it. So this is where we find ourselves coming into the open here, getting a decent bounce off the next major scaffolding around 51.22. And it is trying to kind of step up the levels at the moment, but we are way the hell down here now, right? Last week we were up around 5,600. The pop brought us up to 5,600, and now here we are 500 points lower just within an overnight session and Friday session. So pretty cool. Or I'm sorry, I should say Thursday, Friday, and the overnight session. So it's been a pretty good party here to the downside. Let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames and see what they have to say for this morning.